You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Did I type MadMax in the title? You bet I did. We're going on an SHTF descent, folks. That's right. Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. Are you prepared? It's the big question. Are you prepared for what's coming? Folks, it's going to be a physical problem outside. I here in Studio A can look right outside and I see it. Right? There's a physical battle. There's a psychological battle. And as a prepper, you're prepared for both. Now, they are purposefully, in my opinion, bringing the system down. Now, in first world developed nations like the United States, European nations, China, Russia, right? People, what do they want? They want to just maintain the best they can, right? As we go into this coming recession, depression. But there's a lot of areas of the world, folks, that are going to descend very quickly into MadMax. And I do think that while we've enjoyed SHTF light, we're going to get SHTF heavy here in America. And I've got some opinion I want to share with you. Of course, right? Of course. Number one, let's not talk about, superpowers and third world countries. Let's look at someone in the middle just to start this little discussion. Pakistan, folks, is an emerging market economy. Pakistan has nuclear weapons and nuclear power. Yeah. They're not a superpower, but they're certainly not a third world shithole. But they can certainly return to third world shithole status pretty quick, because Pakistan, folks, is showing us that just like the rest of the world, they're subject to stupid decisions made by their governments. Pakistan is now being hit with electricity blackouts. It is struggling with fuel shortages, technical problems, you bet. Pakistan, folks, is an emerging market economy. It's not a third world shithole, but it can certainly get down to that pretty quick. If they're having fuel shortages and power blackouts, it would stand to reason, it would make sense that they're doing and having the same problems we're having here. Right? Supply lines. You bet. If you have fuel shortages, you have supply and delivery shortages. Food is a huge, huge issue. Pakistan has already had protests, folks, over food and food costs. You want to see people riot? You want to see people have a revolution? All through human history, hunger has caused people to become violent. And it doesn't matter, folks. If you're in their way, you are a target. Now, of course, they know who the problem is. It is the politicians. In the case of the French Revolution, the people were starving, and they went after King Louis, and they took his head right from his shoulders. They did. Food is the big one. Yeah, power is a big deal. Electricity, civilization, all that. But it comes down to food and water. Food and water, right? Both of them we consume. You could even make food part of the diet, right? Water. You take that away and people, they're going to die fast. So we've got three factors, folks, in food shortage, and they're getting worse. And they're going to bring the United States into this SHTF problem more so than it has been in the past. Right? Yeah, we're all here. We're in it. Cerveza bug. Right? There's pestilence. War. Ukraine, Russia. We got to get in there. Everyone put on your plastic Mattel hats and join the MSNBC correspondents in the Sean Penn Brigade. Let's go kick some butt against real guns and real military. No, I don't think so. People are going to not be caring about what's going on in Russia if they get hungry. They're not going to give a shit about Pakistan if there's no food on the table, right? But we have some contributing factors that are going to make world food shortages a reality. a much bigger reality that we cannot ignore in America even. China, as we have discussed, is in long-term lockdown scenario. They have a zero cerveza program, meaning anytime if there's one person with cerveza bug, we must lock everything down. How can they avoid that, folks? How can they avoid it if the tests themselves show false positives? They have, by the way, since this outbreak that's been going on for a couple of months, they finally had their first death. Cerveza bug, their first death, finally. They reported it. See, we knew someone was going to die. Really? Really? Someone finally died from the flu? Are we surprised? In a country with 1.4 billion people, they finally had one person die. And folks, if we could have just saved one life, it's worth it. China's having long-term lockdowns. By the way, who's farming in China? Are the farmers given a special pass? Are they essential to grow food? Well, I mean, you got to grow the food, you got to harvest the food and transport the food and process the food and store the food. There's people involved the whole way. The entire Chinese food market is not organic and done at farmers markets. They have food processing, manufacturing, and storage. Who's farming and processing and doing all the work? China. Severe food shortages coming. For the rest of the world, this Russia-Ukraine thing, folks, it has many, many, many implications, right? Energy, oil, gas, coal, uranium, yikes. But there's also food. Russia and the Ukraine, who are now in conflict, with us standing on the other side of the fence, shouting encouragement to the idiots in charge of Ukraine. There's two major issues, right, for food production. Number one, Russia and Ukraine combined produce 30% of the world's wheat and grains. Will the war end soon? Will trade be reinstated so that Ukraine and Russia can trade food to the rest of the world? Or will our sanctions be in the way? Are we so blind to our needs that we're going to punish ourselves by sanctioning Russia? Well, it didn't work that way with China. China, which has huge human rights violations, huge environmental disasters, huge environmental impact. We'll just ignore all that because China makes cheap televisions and Apple phones. I bet people who virtue signal the shit out of their families and friends and brag on their Apple phones, right? Talking all their liberal socialist big talk, but they don't like to mention how their phones are made in China by slave labor. So, anyways, back to food. Russia, Ukraine, two major issues. Number one, food production. If they're not farming, I'm sure there's still some farmers there. In Russia, I'm sure they're farming full speed ahead. But in Ukraine, it might be interrupted. But also, folks, Russia is responsible for the production of fertilizer. That's affected by the Russia-Ukraine war. Russia's like, you know what? There's going to be fertilizer interruptions because we're at war. We're not going to send it out to the world, right? They're a massive world supplier of fertilizer, Russia is. And it's impacting us in the United States of America in terms of availability and price, which is going to cause American farming production to go down. And on top of that, the rail systems in America have decided to restrict the delivery of fertilizer. Why? Are they intentionally trying to? Yes, they are, folks. There is an intentional effort to bring the system down. It's called the Great Reset, right? When you reset your computer, you push the button and hold it for a period of time, about 6 seconds, and it reboots everything and it starts back up and a lot of the problems go away and it's a reboot, a restart, a reset, a great reset. Well, right now they're holding the reset button and they're shutting everything down. They think that a lot of their problems are going to go away and that the system's going to come back up and it's going to work. That's what they think. They, meaning the powers that be, the super wealthy, the globalists. When everything comes back up, right? People go, lights came back on. Banking system up. We'll do whatever you say. Yeah, right. Fat chance. But that's what they think, folks. It's a great reset. And food shortages. MadMax is going to occur over food, folks. I mean, the guys, the upper middle income people with big holdings. What is that? Train crossing? Big holdings of Amazon, the FANG stocks, right? Facebook, Apple. They're going to lose their asses, but they're not going to riot. They're not going to riot. The people that are going to riot are the masses that are hungry and starving. And by the way, no more chicken nuggets, right? Well, if you can afford chicken nuggets. The bird flu, folks, is being used to kill off chickens by the millions right now. Chickens are a major food source, a major piece of the American food supply chain. And here in America, folks, fertilizer issues, livestock issues. All we need is a nice outbreak of swine flu. Wouldn't that be just dandy? To go along with everything else so Bill Gates can feed you bugs and Bill Gates can feed you synthetic meat, grown in a factory. What kind of meat is it if it's not the kind that our bodies need? Cow, chicken, turkey, Spam. What are they growing in these factories, folks? That's the big question, isn't it? What if some biologist, the scientists, biologists, what if they sneeze into a vat of meat growing? Well, will their sneeze grow into something and then they'll call it food? We're into big trouble, folks. There are serious food shortages coming. And it's going to get worse. They're making it worse. We're going to have big time problems. We're going to see MadMax worldwide, and yes, even in America. The bloom is off the rose. This is not just about cerveza bug. It's not just about the Jim Jones juice. It's about controlling every aspect of our lives, including your ability to eat, to live. Chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours. Get prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Go to thepreparedmind.club. And if you can, folks, $2 a month, less than a cup of coffee, gets you onto Patreon, the Prepared Mind there, where you're safe. We're all safe from being what? We're all safe for the time being from being censored and silenced and removed. That is a voice of freedom, and you can join us every day for live Q&A on Patreon. So I'll see you over there. Thank you again, everyone. Semper Fi. Godspeed.